Well, the 533 Switchback PRO, it's here on my table, and I'm gonna walk you through on a few specs and a comparison with the old generation, some weight differences, some mounting differences, what are the differences between the hardware, between the plates, and all of that. And then I'm gonna go out and fly it and compare it with the old generation, have a few thoughts, and at the end of the video I will conclude with my personal thoughts on this.
First things first, a little disclaimer here. Meanwhile, from the time that I shoot this video, this bench video, up to the time that I went out on the field and flew the quad, I changed a bit some things. One of them is the fact that I no longer use the SVG arms for the Pro version, but as you're gonna be able to see in the flight video, I use now light arms, which changed the discussion about the weight also a bit. I'm gonna add some photos also, and you're gonna see the difference that I shoot in this video and the difference with the light arms. Also, regarding the screws, meanwhile I was able to get my hands on some aluminium countersunk screws, and I changed that also. So now all the screws on the frame are aluminium. The only screws that are steel are the 4-arm screws.
So first I'm gonna show you what comes into the package. Unfortunately, I was super excited when I got it and I just built it, and it was actually very fast to assemble it, and I just took it apart for you to show you. In the package you get a middle plate, you get a bottom plate, top plate, and of course the new design of the wiggle plate, which is 3mm now. So compared with the wiggle plate from the old generation, which is 2mm, this one is 3mm. So we got the arms, which are 5mm. Let's see, the middle plate should be 2, the bottom plate 2mm for the top plate, the wiggle plate is 3mm. As for the hardware, you get 6 screws, 6 steel screws, 8mm steel screws. You get 20mm, or I think it's 25, let me just check for you. So it's around 23mm of thread on the steel screws, and you get another 4 10mm countersunk screws for the standoffs. So my personal choice for mounting this frame is the following. I switched the steel stack screws with nylon. I choose nylon from 2 points of view. One is like, for me, is like an airbag for the stack, because if something happens, of course it's better for the stack to just break, and the FC and ESC will not take all the momentum and all the shock from the crash. That's one thing. And the other, of course, is lighter. I gave up also for the nuts. These are the entry nuts. They are also steel with nylon lock on them. I switched them also with simple aluminium N3 nuts, which they are lighter and easier to mount. So the big advantage for the steel nut with the nylon lock is that it's a little bit taller, and it brings the ESC taller if you want to go with the plug underneath the ESC. So this is an advantage, but I would have loved more if these ones were aluminium also. These are 10mm countersunk screws. These are for standoffs. I gave those for aluminium screws, and these are the parts, the TPU mounts that comes with the new Pro version. They are awesome. The build quality, it's just superb. I like them a lot. I don't use, for example, the antenna mount at all. I just put a zip tie, like let me show you. This is from the old generation, so I simply just put a zip tie here. And for the TBS Triumph PRO, I spin the UFL cable. And in exchange of these two, I have a fixed mount for the camera and also the finish green. So for now I'm gonna go with 6 steel 8mm screws, another 4 8mm aluminum screws for the 25mm standoff, and for the top plate I'm gonna use 6mm aluminum screws. Later I'm gonna exchange the two compression screws from here, and I'm gonna put aluminum also there. So I'm gonna build it for you, then I'm gonna show you a weight without the TPU, or I don't know, with the TPU, and maybe compare it with the old generation, just so you have a comparison for weight and for dimensions. Maybe you're gonna have an idea. First things first, all Switchback users know this. This is the first thing to mount. You can use here countersunk screws, and I'm gonna use them in the future, but for now I'm gonna use aluminum, normal aluminum M3 screws. Okay, so middle plate and the wiggle plate are done, they are mounted. The next step will be to insert the arms. So how this works on the Pro version, which is different from the old generation. Actually, if you want to unscrew the stack screws from here, you have to remove the arm. And also you see that now the arm fits pretty easily, but when you get it first, you're gonna have to smudge it inside a bit. You also get a file in the kit, I don't have it here with me. You practically have to either file a bit here on this side of the arm, hopefully you can see. If you want, you can go to the slots here, to the two ears, a bit of filing here and maybe here, and then the arms will gonna fit easily. Okay, so let's go further. One thing I recommend you to do, just don't tight very hard one screw, just put them inside and leave them at first pretty loose. So don't just tight very hard the first screw, but maybe just go a little bit with on all of them, and then at the final, where all of the 4 screws are inside, just go and screw all the way to the end. One thing that I actually want to mention here, pretty big difference from the old generation to the Pro version, are the compression screws and more likely the compression holes. The guys move the holes like with, I don't know, 5mm or maybe more. So let me show you a comparison. So you have, here is the old generation and this is the Pro, right? And as you can see, the holes are moved more to the center. You gain 2 things with this. The first thing is you don't have to worry so much of braking. Maybe you are in a hurry in a race and you just want to change an arm and you over tight this screw, and so with the Pro version you just don't have to worry that you're gonna break or bend too much the bottom plate. And another thing, the stress point is near to the center and it's pressing more on the arm and not necessarily only on the bottom. So this is a super nice thing that the guys moved the compression screws near to the center. Okay, so we are pretty much done. All we need to mount is the top plate and the TPU mounts, and I already can tell you that I mean, honestly, I'm not lying here. I'm just look at my fingers, right? I'm bending as strong as I can, and this thing is a rock. So first thing, I'm sure that everyone is gonna need a camera mount for it, so this I'm gonna mount it for sure. Okay, so the next part we're gonna be just to add the top plate and make weight for it. Okay, so we are pretty much done. This is the frame. I'm gonna do a short weight for you, just to be sure. I'm gonna tear it and do it again. Yeah, so we are at 66 grams, 0.0, it's on a dime.
Ali from the future here again. So this is the time when I'm gonna stop the video a bit and I'm gonna share with you the photos with my final version of the Switchback Pro. So as you can see here, these are the weights with and without the camera mount. I'm sure that some of you guys may or may not use a flip stick or a fin, but I'm sure everyone is gonna use a camera mount. So this is my final version of the Switchback.
This is the SVG version, and I think with the light arms, I think the whole quad is gonna be with 4 grams light or something like that. All I want to say here that this is like an apple to apples comparison. You can have a pretty close idea. So same types of arms, same everything. Let's not forget the wiggle plate is 3mm, but from what I know, and also I think you guys know also, the wiggle plate on the old generation is gonna be also 3mm. What I can tell you is that I 100% recommend you to try either the old generation or the Pro version. You're just not gonna be disappointed, believe me. So what's left now to do? I'm gonna go out on the field, fly it, throw it around, crash. I'm sure I'm gonna crash it, and I'm gonna have a more complete idea about how it behaves. I will try to do a comparison with this one as tuning goes, because this one being a little bit stiffer, I'm pretty much sure that I'm gonna go easy maybe on the filters, or something might be different. For now, I'm gonna give you my first opinions after the flight test and then some conclusions.
Hi there, so I'm out on the field, and as usually it is super cold. This is the weather in Romania. I wished that I could have I could do a review on a more warmer weather, but this is what I have, and this is what I have to do. I'm about to do 2 flights, one with the Switchback old generation and one with the Switchback Pro. At the end of both flights, I will come with some conclusion, as I just flew them and my opinions are fresh. Both setups, they are pretty much identical. The rest of the components are exactly the same. The only difference is that this one with the green tape is the old generation. This is the Switchback old generation, and the other one that I use, this is the Switchback Pro. And for the rest of the setup, I'm just gonna go super fast over the setup. Besides the frame, of course, I'm using the motors, the T-Motor F60 Pro 4 V2. These are the 1950 kV. For the stack, I'm using the FETTEC FC combined with the Hobbywing ESC. This is the 20x20 40 amp ESC. For the VTX, I'm using the TBS Unify Nano Pro 32. This is the V1.1. And for the RX, I'm using the CROSSFIRE RX still. I'm just about to receive my tracers, so I don't know, maybe a review on that also in the future. For the antenna, I'm using the TBS Triumph PRO with the UFL connection. For the camera, I'm using the Foxeer Predator Nano V5. And I think this is pretty much it. So I'm just gonna go very quickly on the track. I'm not gonna do anything too fancy. I'm just gonna go at a pace on the track. I'm not gonna do anything crazy. I don't want to crash. I just want to have a fresh and honest opinion on how I feel about the old generation in comparison with the Pro version. Okay, so the first one is gonna be with the Switchback OG. Okay, so I guess this sums it up pretty much for the V1. Okay, so I have here the Switchback Pro. So the battery is pretty low, I have to land. Okay, so the flight test is done. My final or my initial conclusions and my final thoughts for after these flights. I have to say, I don't know which will suit you better. First thing that I want to mention is that I never flew the Switchback Pro up until now. This was my first flight with the Switchback Pro. So please mind if I didn't felt so much in control, I didn't tune it, I didn't did anything. As you can maybe spot it out also by yourself, I felt just a bit more in control with the Pro version. I don't know if it's the fact that it's more rigid, it's more short, so the quad turns faster. This might be the case, but I felt this in the tight turns where I have to turn super fast with it, and there is where I felt the difference. As speed goes, I didn't felt too much of a difference. If you are going to use a 20x20 stack anyway, just go with the Switchback Pro. It's gonna fit you perfect, at least for me, in my opinion. So it's the perfect frame for me. But if you are still want to run a 30x30 stack, then just go with the old generation. You'll not be disappointed for sure. I mean, this frame was tested so much by so many pilots, top pilots in races, and there is I didn't see lately a podium without a Switchback on it, so you cannot go wrong either with the old generation or with the Pro. But my advice to you is, if you're already gonna use a 20x20 stack, just go with a Pro. It's awesome. The arms are just have more meat here around near the stack. There is more meat on the arms, so you're gonna have less flex over time. So this is an improvement, and like I said, the light arms are just a bit shorter and the whole frame is just a bit smaller. So this will just bring slightly the weight down, and also it will change
how the quad feels just a little bit in the air, but you're gonna get used to it. For me, it took like one pack. I felt that at the second pack, I'm gonna fly anyway. The second pack, and maybe a few more packs. I know that I'm gonna get used very fast with it. But I have to say, I felt a difference in the tight turn, especially. For speed and stuff like that, it's pretty much the same. You saw how it stays in the air. I used stock FETTEC tunes. I mean, almost stock, just a little bit higher. So for the first time flying it, and with almost stock tunes, it flew awesome. In my opinion, it flew awesome, and I know that I'm gonna like it in the future, and especially for the 2021 season, I'm gonna be using it for sure. Okay, so at the end, my conclusion or my advice to you: if you are going to use a 20x20 stack, just go with a Pro, and if you want to use maybe a 30x30, then go with the old generation. Anyway, you cannot go wrong. Okay, so this is my video. I will conclude here and see you on my next one. I don't know, it's gonna be just footage or DVR or another review, and thank you for sticking with me to the end. Bye.